Welcome to Yoga Chats with me, your host, Greg Walsh. Today's guest is the amazing and inspiring Paula Mitten of Durga Yoga. Paula is a yoga teacher and teacher trainer with many years of experience under her belt. When COVID hit in March 2020, and it became clear that we would have to close our yoga studios for an indefinite period, I consulted Paula Mitten for advice on how to take to the online medium. Paula had already built an online presence when no one else considered it a worthwhile endeavour. You might say that Paula is an Irish pioneer of the online frontier. Paula, thank you so much for joining us today.
Wow, Greg, that's some introduction. Thank you. It's an honour to be here, absolute honour. I'm delighted to be part of your series.
Well, thanks for joining, genuinely. So something that some people may know, when you and I start to talk, we can talk. So we've got a lot to talk about, I always find. And I've always found you a great inspiration, and you still are with the work that you do. You're always pushing ahead. And with that in mind, could you tell me about the beginnings of your online endeavors?
Yeah, absolutely. Actually, my online side of my, if you want to call it side of my business, started before lockdown with the Yoga Teachers Masterclass, which was an online interview series. So I started that in 2018. The first time that I ran it, it was interviews for yoga teachers. The whole inspiration behind it was to support yoga teachers, to bring more information to them from yoga teachers who were really doing well all across the world, and to try and support other yoga teachers who are up and coming and that sort of thing. So that's where I started. I had no idea if it would work. I just decided to do it, and it took off. It did really well. I ended up running 3 interview series specifically for yoga teachers over the last few years, and that was my first step into online. And I hadn't taught any asana online, you know, I hadn't gone down that road until COVID hit. and then I suppose I consider myself really lucky that I had learned the tech side of things, and I was more familiar with how to do things online. So when COVID became an issue in Ireland, before we had to close down or anything like that, I could see the fear. I could see the fear in my students. You know, the week that I went online, I had a lot, like 50% of students call me or message me and say, look, I don't want to come in. I'm concerned. I'm not feeling well. Maybe I've got COVID. Like, there was a lot of worry. And so that was Tuesday. I decided, okay, that's it. It's not helpful for anybody, you know, to bring them into the studio, but we all need this. So I'm just going to put it online. So I jumped straight in, feet first.
What date would that have been, Paula?
Say that to me again.
What date would that have been, would you say?
That was, so it was the week that Leo made the big announcement. So he made his announcement on the Thursday, and on the Tuesday, like the Monday and Tuesday, there was that I remember that particular Tuesday being really overwhelming for my students. That was the experience that I had. And I went home from my studio, locked the doors of the studio on Tuesday night, and went home and said, I'm going to move everything online. So I just announced we're going online. We're not coming into the studio. And, you know, it was I suppose for me, it might have felt like a bit of a risk, because there were still 50% of people who were willing to come into the studio. So, you know, if you think about it if you want to think of it like a business perspective, it might have been a bit risky, but my concern was for my students. I wanted my students to feel safe and happy, and I didn't want to put anybody unnecessarily at risk. We didn't know how things were going to unfold. We didn't know what was going to happen. So I just made that decision, and that's the way that if you know me, that's the way that I operate. I just make decisions fast. And, you know, if I need to change that decision, I will, but we'll just go with it and see what happens. So I jumped in, and by the Friday, everything was online. So That was before, it was before the St. Patrick's Day. St. Patrick's Day was the following week, so the week before that.
Yes, yes. St. Patrick's Day was a Tuesday, and I know my first class was the day after, the 18th. And in the run up to that, we closed on the Friday the 12th, I think it was. And I had quite a few chats with you. And at that point, there were a few admin staff in the studio, and we pulled very long hours planning a new timetable, rethinking everything. And exactly like you, a lot of people were still happy to come in, but I think people did respect the putting safety first.
Yeah, yeah. And the response was incredible. Greg, you know, when I announced it we're going online, I was excited. I was excited to do it because I felt like it was the right thing to do. And so when I'm following my heart, you're going to see I'm excited about it, you know. So people responded really well. Everybody, like most people came across. There were definitely one or two who said, look, I really don't want to go online. I'm going to wait and see what happens. But I would say probably 95% of people came across to online right away, which I think is incredible. Like, you know, fair play to everybody, because I was used to Zoom. Most people were not used to Zoom. You know, they embraced, like they just
People were great. People were great. And now, personally, I thought we were closing for 3 weeks. We are a year and 3 weeks later, and we're still on Zoom. But I know what you mean. I really enjoy teaching online, and I loved the challenge at the time. But it was very scary. It was a real leap into the unknown. But it had to be done. And I think I found a lot of people got behind it, and some people I haven't seen in a year, and they're saying, I'm just waiting until you can reopen. But you know, I think to keep the yoga up, I think the great thing with teaching on Zoom and practicing via Zoom is it's so easy. You can do it really regularly. It's bridging the gap, I feel, between studio practice, class practice, and self-practice, because it's really just you and a teacher on screen. That's the experience from the other side of the camera.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. And I mean, you know, it makes it so accessible to so many people. You know, like what I find is students who maybe they have young children at home, so they wouldn't be able to get out of the house, or, you know, they would have to travel quite a distance to come to classes, whatever. It means that they can just log in from home and they can join you from anywhere. You know, we have students joining from all over the country, and even from other countries. They can come and practice with you. They haven't seen you in years, you know, which is absolutely incredible.
I like you too, because I'm teaching so long. I have a lot of that, and I know you do too, because you're in this a long time, and it blows my mind. I've had people from New Zealand regularly, people from the States, from all over Europe, South Africa. It's amazing. I'm going to ask you another question, Paula.
Yeah.
So, how do you? We've warmed into this. How do you now, a year on, find teaching yoga online?
Personally, I love teaching yoga online, and you know, I mainly teach teacher trainings, so I don't have a very many, I suppose what you call public classes. So I mainly work with people who are training to be yoga teachers, and so it's actually more intimate than when we were in person, because you're looking right into the eyes of everybody, and you can get to know people really, really quickly, compared to when we were in a big room, right? And you've got people spread, all like maybe rows of people in the room. So for me, that has been really, really good. Like, I've gotten to know people quicker. I feel like we've gotten more intimate. In terms of the physical practice, yes, you know, I like with my 200-hour students, they have to have their camera on, they have to position it so that I can see them, I can see everything that they're doing. In the public class, I recommend it, but they don't have to. And some people who really wouldn't feel confident to go into a room full of yogis because they're thinking, you know, I'm not flexible enough, I'm not strong enough, I'm not young enough, I'm not, you know, all the stories. They feel comfortable to come in and do a class and maybe keep their camera off or direct it a little off to the side so that they're not in full view. And it makes the class more open to those who wouldn't feel safe or confident to walk into a studio space.
Yeah, it's so true. I have had quite a few people reach out to me saying, can I join your class, but can I not turn on my camera? I'm not very comfortable in my body. And I know we say that yoga is not in any way sort of goal driven, but of course, if you're in a room with 10, 15, 20, 40, 60 people, you're going to look around, and the time you look around is when you're doing your crappiest pose, isn't it? And so for all of us, it can make us feel a little bit, you know, low at times like that. Whereas when it's just you looking at the teacher, and I love to, like, you know, I think for people who, you know, for some people, yoga is just part of their life, but someone who's never done yoga before, and let's say they are battling with pain or with struggling with their weight or their body image, I think that yoga can be a massive help because it's lifting them out of somewhere. And so, yeah, I love seeing people, and I do teach occasionally a corporate class where no one turns on the camera, and to me it's like looking into the black Zoom void. But so once I can see people, I don't need to, even a few of them, I don't need to call them out or spotlight them or comment to them or anything, but I love to see them. But equally, if I know someone is struggling and they're there without their camera on, I'm just so happy that they're there. I think it has bridged a gap like that wonderfully well. Can I ask you another question?
Yeah, sure.
So where do you think the future of yoga lies, having had our Zoom conversation?
Yeah, I don't think the virtual is going away. It's not going anywhere. Of course, neither is in person. Like, in person will come back. Absolutely. When in Ireland, we don't know, but it will come back. And there's a place for both, which is really incredible. I think that actually yoga has become bigger over the last year than ever before. There's more demand. We love the in-person experience. You know, I think at this stage, a lot of yogis are craving the in-person, you know, when you walk into the studio and you smell the incense and you greet the teacher. And we've gotten used to being able to take 3-4 classes a week, you know, to log on. Like, you might finish work and straight into a yoga class, which you couldn't do before, or, you know, like log in when you've got no babysitter or whatever it is. So there is absolutely going to be a place for virtual and in person. And I see yoga bigger than ever, being more important than ever, because over the last year we've discovered very quickly that we need to get out of the rat race and really, you know, arrive in our bodies and be more conscious about taking care of ourselves. And people are making a determined effort to do more self-care, if you want to call it self-care, or, you know, just looking after themselves.
Yeah, I think yoga as self-care. Self-care is a phrase I'm a little uncomfortable with, to be honest. But I just think it sounds a little selfish to me. But I think yoga isn't self-care to me. If I don't do my yoga, I am more of a bear. So it's an act of kindness to everyone around me to do yoga.
That's so funny. I've heard you say that before. But you know what? You know, it depends on what you interpret self-care as, right? But you know, whatever you want to call it, I believe that you've got to take care of yourself first before you can take care of others. And coming from the mindset of a mother and a trainer, and you know, my mission in the world, my job in the world, and my purpose for being here is taking care of others and supporting others. But I can't do that if I don't take care of myself. It's not possible. And so if I don't make the space in my day or my week to do some practice, like whatever it is, and it doesn't necessarily have to be yoga, but breathing, meditation, asana, just time out, journaling, whatever it is. If I don't take that space, then I'm not able to support in the same way. So that's my explanation to that one.
I accept that. Yeah, well said. Absolutely. Can I ask you one more question? What takeaway can viewers bring home from our yoga chats today?
I think one of the biggest things that you could take away is that we get to really believe in the possibility of anything being possible, right? Because ultimately, we tend to put ourselves into a box, or feel like, if something suggested, like straight away, your thought, maybe you might think that you want to do something, you want to try yoga, you want to take a training, or you want to do whatever. Straight away you think, oh, but I wouldn't be able, like I'm not able to do that. And we would have said, if you told us, I guarantee you 18 months ago, you're going to have, we're going to get you to take your whole yoga business, your whole yoga studio, and put it online and run your teacher trainings online, 100%, we would have went, absolutely no way. It's not like we would have said, I know we would have said, it's not possible. Anything is possible. Live in the possibility. Never, just don't say no to anything. If there's something that you want to do, or something that you want to try, or something that's suggested, be open to the suggestion and live in the possibility.
Paula, that is brilliant. That is so great. I love that. And on behalf of all of our viewers, Paula, I'd like to thank you for taking the time to have these yoga chats today.
You are so welcome. Thank you for having me.
It was such a great chat, And that's all for now, folks. I'm Greg Walsh. Thank you for watching, and I hope you can join us for more yoga chats soon.